The Roads to Carbon Neutral, presented by TotalEnergies. Hello, I'm Emma Crosby. Welcome to The Roads to Carbon Neutral. This series examines how countries, companies and communities have set a clear goal to achieve net zero carbon emissions by mid-century. In this edition, we examine hybrid energy systems and the crucial role these solutions will play in the global shift to renewables. Coming up, we discover the broad array of energies that will be integrated into our global power infrastructures.
80% of the solution of the climate is coming from the use of energy.
Industrial operations that are off-grid will benefit from hybrid systems.
Reporter Emmeline Nsingi-Nkosi looks at the growth of the sector.
Plus, I uncover how we will power our cities and homes in the future.
And we look at the forward momentum in the transport sector and the use of hybrid power on our journey towards a carbon neutral future.
That's unique because there is no airplane with two sources of energy.
To begin, let's explain exactly what a hybrid energy system is. To help do so, we've gathered industry leaders and academics to give us their views. If the last century was dependent upon hydrocarbons, the 21st century will be defined by renewables. Now is the age of the energy transition. Through favourable policies and investments in carbon-free power sources, such as solar and wind, the journey to carbon neutrality has begun. However, constraints due to geographical location and weather conditions render solar PV and wind power output as too variable to supply constant, instantaneous power. For now, fossil fuels will continue to play a role in powering the world. It'll be a global challenge to find a way to combine all energy systems to mitigate the effects of hydrocarbon use. This is where hybrid energy systems come in.
So an hybrid system is a system composed of several energy sources and sometimes storage. So energy sources could be renewables, wind, solar energy, or conventional electricity production like gas turbine or diesel generator. And an hybrid system can either be connected to the grid or completely off-grid to supply with electricity a remote grid that has no access to electricity.
If you look at the US grid, you have generation sources of different types. You have hydro, which is a storage. Now we get a lot of batteries, and they're unconnected. So you would consider the US grid also a hybrid source, but go to sub-Sahara Africa. Over there, maybe it's a small solar farm that is coupled to a battery. That's hybrid power. These are all concepts of hybrid power that would be very much needed as we look at a global journey for a net zero future.
A hybrid energy system combines the main sources of energy supply and storage for commercial or residential use in the generation of electricity, heating or cooling. Existing legacy hydrocarbon-based systems are fueled by natural gas or oil. As we move towards our net zero goals, there will be a need to integrate renewable energies such as solar, wind or biomass into these systems. Advancements in batteries and fuel cells have allowed these storage options to come online. With each year, capacity improves. Digital technologies enable all these sources to be interlinked and then distributed. Reliability and resilience are essential in the energy transition.
Hybrid energy systems are really important for many different reasons, both as many of the renewable energies are intermittent. So they will not be available to the same extent at all times. So it's good to have different kind of renewable energies available in order not to get too large peaks or valleys in the energy supply. When we have hybrid system, we will also be able to store energy. Just by having the concept of hybrid energy systems, we are already prepared for a larger integration.
The future of power generation becomes a hybrid multi-generation where you're no longer thinking about electricity generation plant. You're thinking about a plant that will form the right form of energy at the right time when it's needed.
To truly integrate multiple power sources, the energy sector must reimagine its existing infrastructure to better accommodate renewables. Hybrid systems offer the opportunity to optimize the flow of energy supply by minimizing the mismatch between energy generation and usage. Decentralizing production and further embracing smart digital systems will move the energy sector towards decarbonization.
Installing on an industrial side an hybrid system will enable you to decarbonize your operation. So basically all industrial operations that are off-grid will benefit from a hybrid system. Today they run either with gas turbines or with a diesel generator. So by adding an hybrid system, so solar plus batteries to this operation, you can reduce their carbon footprint. An example can be mines or oil and gas platform in the ocean.
Mining is one of the most energy-intensive industries worldwide. Due to their remote locations, most mine operations are heavily dependent on fossil fuels such as diesel, oil and coal for on-site power generation. Recent years have seen a rapid uptake in renewable energy adoption. At the turn of the millennium, the use of renewables in mining was near zero. A decade later, it used 42 megawatts. By 2019, there was a massive jump to more than 3,000 megawatts. Mining is crucial in obtaining the minerals for the creation of clean technologies. The transition to hybrid systems and continued decarbonization of this essential sector is paramount. Forecasts for Africa and Southeast Asia show populations are set to grow over the next 100 years. However, it's people living in these regions that have the least access to energy currently. For their economies to flourish, reliable energy supply will be needed.
Around 760 million people around the world which still do not have access to electricity despite it being 2021. What's even worse is that on current projections, more than 600 million people in the future by 2030 will still fail to have electricity. The hybridization is obviously part of this story to really move from the old ways to the society of tomorrow that is future-proof, that is climate-proof, and that really powers the world from the bottom up.
This year, the International Renewable Energy Agency estimated that renewables will provide an impressive 86% of global energy by 2015. The transition to these cleaner sources with the aid of hybrid solutions is redefining the economics of energy. It's challenging governments and corporations to rethink power infrastructures in order to best serve the public.
I think the opportunity for hybrid power, both in developed countries that are going through decarbonization and in underdeveloped or developing countries where people don't have access to power, both the areas are very promising for hybrid systems.
To further explain the benefits of hybrid energy systems, reporter Emmeline Nsingi-Nkosi compares two power-hungry cities.
By 2050, 6.6 billion people will be living in urban areas. As demographics shift away from rural areas, pressure on energy systems in cities will increase. Two of the most dynamic cities on Earth, symbols of economic and cultural power, will help explain what it takes to keep a mega metropolis moving and how hybridization will play a role. New York, home to approximately 19 million with an economy driven by the finance, tech and the real estate sectors. Shanghai, with 25 million citizens, is China's financial powerhouse, leading in manufacturing and industry. In 2018, a peak year for power use globally, the primary energy consumption of the United States was 29,600 terawatt hours. In China, it's significantly more. Shanghai consuming 156.6 terawatt hours. New York used less. Both cities, with distinctive skylines and mass human activity, ranked highly in their respective countries for electricity use. New York typically uses more power than is generated. Shanghai's electricity generation is mainly from coal. An overhaul of infrastructure is critical to integrate renewables. In 2017, for example, power generated via wind and solar on the eastern coast was wasted. Without the right systems in place, the green energy was unable to be stored or transmitted to Shanghai thousands of kilometers away. Seasonal changes and unusual weather patterns cause energy spikes in both cities. About 36% of 1.7 billion air conditioners used worldwide in 2017 were used in China. In New York State, conventional heating and cooling systems are responsible for 37% of energy consumption and 32% of the state's greenhouse gas emissions. Both cities have experienced power issues when the demand is high due to transmission issues or aging infrastructure pushed to the limit, and both cities are no stranger to blackouts. Hybridization can play a role in stabilizing these two cities. Improvements to energy efficiency on a city level will inevitably impact homes, and those homes are going to need to get smarter.
A smart home means different things to different people, but typically it's referring to an internet connected device. So you can have a hybrid environment where the technology and the cloud can bring together all of those different systems. So it can be traditional energy, it can be alternative energy sources, but the technology piece really brings that together into a seamless single experience, and then allows you to be able to do analytics around the consumption and the behaviors, and then be able to drive new outcomes.
It is important to look at how can we improve the energy consumption for a building while providing the best climate for its occupant. We've seen 3-4 big trends moving from incandescent lighting to LED lighting, changing the refrigerant into more greenhouse-friendly refrigerant, more optimization, reading all those sensors about occupancy, about motion, about thermal flows. We've seen the technology around demand and the response, and how the building interact with the grid and with the utility companies based on the capacity and energy storage they have in the building.
Ultimately, consumers want to hit the switch and have access to power in their households. In this energy transition, some homes will need to be retrofitted. For others, it will mean the embrace of new technologies to enable reliable energy supply. No matter the scenario, all consumers will demand their energy to be efficient and cost-effective. Back to you, Emma.
The move towards carbon neutrality will be a global effort. TotalEnergies is determined to play its part in meeting this challenge. The Technology Research and Development team have devised the Hybrid Programme with a focus on the decarbonisation of all industrial assets and optimising the penetration of renewables. Bruno Leforget, head of the Technology Integration and Industrialisation Hub within TotalEnergies Research and Development, can tell us more. Hi there, Bruno. Can you explain for us what TotalEnergies Hybrid Programme is?
So as far as the TotalEnergies hybrid program, the intent is to be able to integrate and maximize the renewable penetration with more conventional power generation, which are mainly based on the, I would say, fossil fuel fired generation. By developing a hybrid system for our own assets, it will allow us in the future to provide such kind of a solution to external clients.
So how are you trying to optimize the ability of these systems to decarbonize power generations?
We have assessed that the level of penetration that we can quite easily achieve is in the range of 50% in terms of instantaneous power, which means at the end 15-16% in terms of renewable penetration. But we have to go beyond. So strong focus on developing power management system, which means that we need to do lots of digital approach, lots of data analysis, sky imaging, satellite data imaging, developing artificial intelligence to further refine models that will help us to optimize the global operation of our assets.
So Bruno, tell me about one of your major projects.
We are considering a future project in Oman. We have the advantage of being connected to a grid, which allows us investigating alternative solutions and combining large-scale PV farms and large-scale energy storage that will allow us to reach up to almost 80% of renewable energy penetration. The project is at early stage, but that we hope will be demonstrated on site in the near future. Clearly, we are learning by doing. Our focus on our roadmap on the hybrid system is being able to integrate all these major technological bricks and generation and storage energy means.
Bruno, thanks very much. The urgent need for hybrid energy systems can be clearly illustrated in West Africa's most populous nation. Emmeline Nsingi-Nkosi explains further.
Nigeria and its population of 206 million should be thriving, rich in fossil fuels and blessed with weather able to utilize solar or wind. The problem is delivering energy to the customer. Nigeria's decaying power grid, along with the resulting precarious energy supply, is a key issue hindering growth in the continent's largest economy. If you are a company looking to succeed, what solutions are there for ensuring guaranteed energy supply? We take a look at one company who has found an answer through hybridization. Spend any time in Nigeria and you will be familiar with the Right Foods brands. This huge operation handles the daily production of carbonated drinks and sausages for distribution nationwide. Managing Director Salim Adegunwa explains the unique way his factory generates electricity.
Within these 20 hectares, we've got 3 plants, and from there we produce millions of products, beverages on a daily basis that is sold throughout the entire country in Nigeria. When we began operations, we were using 100% diesel, and then we added to the diesel compressed natural gas. From there, in 2020, we then had the 1 megawatt solar farm deployed to us by TotalEnergies. Earlier this year, we had the gas pipeline also commissioned. So as at today, we are majorly on natural gas, supported by the solar farm and a very small percentage of diesel. We're using like 32.1 megawatts of energy daily. We're not on the power grid at all because we cannot afford fluctuations or power outage. So we have to provide our power 100% by ourselves, which is why we have the hybrid system that we have. Today, our solar farm is about 5% of our energy demand, and that has allowed us to reduce our carbon emission by 1,000 tons. In the coming years, in the short term, we're actually looking at growing our solar from 1 megawatt to 4 megawatts. Renewable energy is the future. We intend to take part in that. And so we are very driven to do what is right, do what's right for the planet. It's a thing that we take very, very seriously.
TotalEnergies was instrumental in helping Right Foods have access to energy at this site. Olabisi Uwaoma, Solo Business Solutions Manager at TotalEnergies Nigeria, discusses the challenges energy insecurity presents and how her division is working to solve them for customers.
Nigeria's target for renewable energy is to have it contribute about 30% share in the available electricity mix by 2030. TotalEnergies in Nigeria is very aligned with these objectives. And so in the past few years, we have been in the forefront of providing solar hybrid solutions for both homes and businesses in order to gradually move them away from the pollution of the atmosphere resulting from the use of fossil fuel generators. Solar power is quite dominant as a part of the hybrid solutions in Nigeria today. We deployed our first solar station in 2014 in Lagos, and since then we have gone on to solarize over 100 of our gas stations across the country. We have also deployed multiple solar home solutions for residential solutions alongside industrial scale solar in many locations for different customers. We would continue to increase the solar solution for Right Foods
As we have heard, energy access helps businesses to thrive. This collaboration between Right Foods and TotalEnergies has encouraged further investment and expansion.
Many businesses, whole countries and critical infrastructures are looking to control their own energy supply, particularly in areas that are prone to extreme weather conditions, in remote locations or subject to unpredictable supply. The microgrid will facilitate the management of broader electricity grids. It relies on the integration of distributed energy resources such as storage that can operate in parallel to the utility grid. Xin Ma of TotalEnergies Ventures explains why her division is actively looking to support microgrids through the company's investment arm.
The purpose and our mission is really to look for the new technology and new business model and looking for the optionality for the future energy transition. 80% of the solution of the climate is coming from the production, transmission, and the use of energy. In Asia, there's a big chunk of CO2 is produced, and they keep on growing because of the population growth and the urbanization, economic development. Because of the technology leapfrog, that also is a place that we can find the solution opportunities, with a combination of AI and IoT and software and hardware to really make the system more reliable. So that's where a whole set of startups come into picture. So that's a case of AutoGrade and STEM. All those companies are really addressing those issues in different angles.
STEM has operated the world's largest digitally connected energy storage network for over a decade. The company helps hundreds of its business customers achieve their revenue and sustainability goals. AutoGrid is the market leader in AI-powered flexibility management software for the energy industry. AutoGrid Flex Virtual Power Plant platform provides frequency regulation capabilities to TotalEnergies for its largest battery-based energy storage project in France.
There are many companies around the world in many regions who can provide single solutions, but it's very difficult to combine all this. So that's where Canopy come into our view, because although it's a small company, it has a really good and strong track record in terms of really running a hybrid system rather than just a single solution company.
Canopy Power is one of Southeast Asia's leading independent players with deep technical expertise in hybrid projects involving both solar and battery technology and digital solutions. The microgrids help remote communities, commercial and industrial companies to shrink their carbon footprint.
Microgrids solve two problems: energy security and energy access. Millions of people here and thousands of businesses are dependent on diesel electricity. Just because the grid is not there, or geographically it's not possible to have the grid. So imagine islands in Indonesia or Philippines. So when you convert this infrastructure into a hybrid system and add renewable energy sources along with, in many cases, storage, it solves the problem of energy access. So sometimes the communities we work with, they may have access of 3-4 hours diesel electricity. You can hybridize the assets and make it 24/7. The technology we are bringing to the market is actually the software which is required to run these microgrids optimally for long term. TotalEnergies Ventures has invested in Canopy Power recently, which is actually fueling the growth. We are working with them in places like Cambodia to develop and build a couple of large microgrids.
All the companies championed by TotalEnergies Ventures aim to create a more sustainable future for the planet.
And to close the show, let's highlight some entrepreneurs leading the decarbonisation of transport. 29% of all energy consumption comes from the transport sector. Hybrid energy use for mobility is a priority for city planners, manufacturers and consumers determined to reduce carbon emissions. TotalEnergies own SAF, the world-leading designer and manufacturer of advanced technology batteries for industry, has been at the forefront of powering hybrid sea vessels. In 2015, SAF supplied a state-of-the-art lithium-ion battery system for part diesel-electric hybrid vessel Hybrid Free, a passenger and vehicle ferry designed for sea crossings in Scotland, which saves up to 30% in fuel consumption and CO2 emissions. Also, SAF's marine lithium-ion batteries power the RRS Sir David Attenborough scientific research vessel. This ship is currently undergoing trials and expected to make its maiden voyage to Antarctica at the end of 2021.
Next, we head to the tracks. Hitachi intercity trains can help reduce transport emissions. Diesel engines can be replaced with batteries on existing fleets or new trains. This proven diesel and battery hybrid tech is a cost-effective way to transition away from fossil fuels. It can reduce fuel costs up to 30% and improve train performance. This battery solution complements existing rail infrastructure, allowing journeys to continue beyond electrified routes. Volt Aero is developing a series of hybrid electric aircraft called Casio, combining electric motors and a thermal energy for propulsion. Co-founder and former Airbus CTO Jean Botti tells us more.
What makes this Casio airplane by Volt Aero hybrid is the fact that you have on board two sources of energy, one electric and one thermal. All takeoff and landings are electric, even the taxi around the airport. When you get to a certain altitude and you get to a distance beyond 200 kilometers, the thermal engine kicks in and recharges the batteries because you have depleted them during the taxiing and takeoff. And that's how we can achieve distances that can go up to 1,200 kilometers. And that's unique. No airplane today can do it because there is no airplane with two sources of energy. That's what makes this overall hybridization.
The company expects the Casio to take to the skies in the second half of 2023.
Well, that's all we have time for. As we've seen, hybrid energy systems have a significant role to play in the transition to net zero by 2050. If you'd like to find out more, please visit roadstocarbonneutral.com. Thank you for watching and goodbye. Roads to Carbon Neutral, presented by TotalEnergies.